Welcome to the May meeting of the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Association Board. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll begin with approval of the agenda,
I'll move approval.
and I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none opposed, motion carries. Public comment on matters not on the agenda. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on matters not on the agenda, seeing or hearing none, we'll move on to item 3, approval of the April 19th, 2018 minutes. And I'll move for approval of the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hearing none, we'll move on to item 4, report out of closed session.
The board met in closed session to confer with its real property negotiator, and the board did grant bidding authority to its real property negotiator with regard to the property identified on the closed session agenda.
Thank you. Item 5, review of monthly and year-to-date revenues.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This report summarizes revenue and expenses for March 2018. The agency's starting position was approximately $12.6 million, and the revenue we received for this month was related to the resolution of the general overhead and administration costs we were trying to take down with DWR. So there are two parts to that. The first part were expenses when the program was just starting up and they weren't directly affiliated with work orders, but they were in support of generating and creating the work orders. So that amount was $566,000 in cash approximately, and that was paid by check by DWR. The second portion of the $1 million was $443,000, which was ICAP money that DWR was holding pending resolution of the GO&A expenses. So once everything trued up and everybody agreed on the numbers, they transferred that. We took that money, the $443,000 from the construction advance, so we moved that money out of 257 over to 871. So the revenues for the month were $13.6 million. Most of the expenditures for the month were in the Southport project, and the largest expenses were related to the Crown Castle relocation with costs to Verizon and to Crown Castle. And the second or third most highest expense of that month was construction management cost. Total expenses for the month were $1.5 million approximately, and the ending position in Fund 870 and 871 was $12.2 million. I left a updated sheet on Fund 257. I hadn't moved the GO&A ICAP expenses out of there, so that's a corrected number. So $10.3 million is in the advance fund as of March 31st, bringing the agency's overall cash position to $22.3 million. In other financial related stuff, we have a DOF audit underway right now on the construction funding agreement. They're looking back 3 years from quarter 26. The quarter 27 statement of costs are in with DWR for review. We hope to be seeing some cash from that pretty soon. The remainder of the 50% payment for the CCON settlement is in process too. We'll get that as a check from DWR. Going forward though, and we have another real estate reimbursement in process as well, we'll be taking real estate reimbursements from the construction advance as well too. So everything will be coming in the future from the construction advance. And as of 5/8, our agency's combined cash position was $14.5 million, and that's reported in the progress report. And that ends the report for March.
Okay. Do you have any questions? Mark, just one so I can follow it. On page 2, the CIP fund expenditures, the regional FMP, which is that flood management program we manage, I show the expenses. Where does the income show up? Is that on state revenues?
Yeah, it'll come under state revenue when we get it.
Okay.
We have about $450,000 in payments that we're waiting for from the RFMP grant. They've received the invoices, they've reviewed them, and they're processing the payment.
Okay, so that's set up as a reimbursement
Yeah,
type of
it's a
situation?
separate grant from the,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to the consent items of it today. Is there any questions or changes to the consent items? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve,
I'll move consent.
and I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Motion carries. Regular agenda, Southport project update. Mr. Ken.
Hello. Well, good morning, Chairman Ramos, members of the board. I'm here to, what's that?
Raise it up.
Raise it up a little bit more?
No, the whole bench. It's set up for a short person. There you go.
There we go. There we go. I'm here to provide you an update on the Southport Levee Improvement Project. When I was here a few months ago, we went over some of the preliminary activities. We were doing preliminary works prior to flood season ending. Now we've started since April 16th to ramp up production, and as of right now, we're in full-on production mode. So some of the items currently going on, have been listed here the following. This is stuff that's happened since mid-April and will continue to happen through the end of this month and into June. First, we're doing some offset area excavation for the levee embankment placement. Those are happening along segments B2 through D, so essentially that south tie-in in the vicinity of Gregory and Village Parkway come together, and just north of Davis Road. So if you were to go out on the project site right now, that's where you see a majority of the activity. I've got some pictures later on kind of showing those excavation areas, but that's predominantly the levee embankment work with a few other minor occurrences throughout. Right now, I have anywhere from just under 120 people on site on a daily basis. That consists of operators, teamsters, laborers, foremen, superintendents, biologists, archaeologists, tribal monitors, inspectors, and material testers, just to name a few. But we have quite a few people out there in production, and we're looking to be in good shape for the time being, moving forward. We're doing some levee degrade work as well, taking down the existing levee to get some platform working elevations for our slurry wall. That's happening in segments A and B, A through B2, down in the south end, as well as segment G up in the north end. Segment G is the deep mix method wall construction. Hopefully next month I'll have some pictures of that equipment so you can kind of see what that looks like. Down in segments A and B1, if you were to drive down there right now, you'll see a big excavator up top at the very south end of the project, essentially getting that platform down to grade. So INQIP, who's doing the slurry wall work, will jump on down there once we get some of the slurry wall work in the north end. I mentioned the slurry wall installation. That'll happen actually later on this week. We have the two different operations going on. We have the traditional, conventional, I should say, slurry wall operation that's happening just north of Bees Lake. So right there where segment E and F come together. And that'll continue on to the north end. That's being done by INQIP. And then the DMM, which is the deep mix method, that'll be started on towards the end of the week. And we'll go into production for about 4 months during that time frame. So once the slurry wall in the north is done with INQIP, then they'll jump to the south end. I'll update you guys once that happens. As part of the offset area excavation, we're also restoring some of the borrow sites. We've got borrow site A1 and A4, our north and southmost ones, that are being restored right now, but that'll continue throughout construction based on what material we run into, what the embankment needs are, and so forth. We've got some seepage berm placement as well in segments B1 through C, so placed on the backside of the levee embankment as they're getting up high enough, and continuing on with that. We completed the drainage culvert installation earlier on this month. Went through, double-checked the punch list on those, and those should be cleaned up. So those are in warranty mode right now. So if anything happens in the future, we'll go ahead and make sure they get corrected. We have ongoing survey work, so as we're doing our embankment and tracking our quantities, we're having to go ahead and kind of shoot with survey equipment and making sure that we're meeting our production numbers as well as matching what the load counts are we're doing on a daily basis. So this is to ensure we're meeting our goals as we move forward to get embankment up to elevations that are currently in the schedule, and to make sure that we maintain flood protection at all time. We've got guidelines as far as what that existing levee or setback levee need to be at any given time, and we're not going down below those elevations. So the surveys will assist with that as well. And we are currently trucking in some rock slope protection. So at our breaches, as well as a couple erosion sites, we have quite a bit of rock that's going to be going in. So if you drive along Village Parkway, just south of Davis Road, you'll see a mountain of rock there. That's what that's going to be used for. So I'll go ahead and run you through some pictures going south to north. This is segment A, the levee degrade. This is where slurry wall will start probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks once ACE gets finished in the north. But in this picture, you can kind of see the material that's been removed along the slopes to about the elevation where the degrade is going to go. Like I said, they currently got the excavator out there getting some of that material down to grade. So it looks quite a bit different than what you see right now with a wider platform. Segments B, 2, and C, here's where we have some of our offset area excavation, as well as where a majority of the levee embankment is currently going. So in the following picture, I've got better pictures of those excavations. You'll see kind of on the right-hand side, as well as in the middle, we've got some of the darker color dirt. That's where the excavations are currently going on. These were taken end of last month, so in the actual 2.5 weeks since then, we've moved quite a bit more dirt going in there. So hopefully the pictures I'll show you next month will show kind of how those areas have grown. But that material is used in combination with the embankment down along the sides for the setback levee, as well as the seepage berm, and like I mentioned before, some of the borrow restoration. This is looking northwards towards the marinas with downtown Sacramento in the background. This is segments D and E. We've got some offset area excavation that's happening in here. That rock pile I was talking to you about is right down there to the left-hand side. They've got about 30% of the material out there right now, so we have quite a bit to expand on that. So you'll see that continue to grow over the coming weeks. We've got some setback levee embankment work going in the vicinity of the Sherwood Marina. That's our secondary access from Village Parkway to feed those folks. Right now, they're all coming off Yacht Club, but that'll continue to get installed, and then probably the next 4 to 5 weeks be in use or ready for use. This is looking south. This is the segment FG tie-in at the very north end of the project. We did mainly setback levee and platform work along here to get ready for the slurry wall. So it's about elevation 22, 23 in order for preparation for that. So that's the first area they're looking to start the slurry wall work in, and they've got about 2 to 3 weeks set for that work. So we haven't touched the levee in any of this particular area south of our breach, and we'll continue to kind of monitor, like I said, construction going forward to make sure that we keep the adequate level of flood protection our agencies are looking into. I go back one. And the one I skipped is the very northernmost end, so segment G. This is where the DMM rig is currently being constructed at, and we're looking to start digging probably on Thursday. I shouldn't say digging, I should say drilling. And that's essentially where the wall is getting mixed in place with those augers that'll be on that drill rig. They've got some of the platform already ready to go, as well as some of that cap that goes along there. But this will tie into the existing wall that currently exists in the north end, and ultimately we'll tie this into the slurry wall that Inquip's working on. But this is the northernmost segment of the project, and like I said, we started later on this week. This picture shows the borrow sites, but also some of the equipment lineup we have over here. Borrow A4, which has some of that standing water you see in the background, is one of the areas we're currently backfilling and restoring. A3, which is just to the just on top of that, is where some clay blending is still occurring. That's that core material we use along the levee. And then A1, which you can't see too well over here, but that would be to the far right. That's one of the areas that's also being restored. So the amount of equipment we have out here is quite a bit more than what you see over here. Hopefully with the next update, we'll see some of that equipment in motion, as well as get a better idea of how many pieces we have out there. But we are in full production mode. We're moving about 12 to 15,000 cubic yards a day. Like I said, we're surveying that information to verify what those numbers are, and we'll continue to kind of move forward in that respect and update all our construction team as well as our agencies as we move forward.
Is that standing water? Is that the water table?
No, that's kind of the standing water just in the area over there in A4. It's more perched groundwater than, perched surface
Okay,
water
okay.
than anything else. Right now, depending on where you're at within the project, groundwater is anywhere from elevation 8 to 10. So we've been able to do our excavations in the offset areas fairly easily with the excavators we have out there and trucking that they're currently using. Most of it's actually down to elevation 10. So once they start digging the low flow channel and really getting into there, we'll have a better idea of what kind of equipment can run down there. But we've been pretty successful so far with not having to dewater based on our current operations, and as the river continues to stay low, and as we continue to move forward into the drier months, I think we'll be in a good spot moving forward.
And Ken, the elevation 10's pretty close to the bottom of the low elevation in the offset area, with the exception of the low flow drainage canals, correct?
Correct, and it continues to go down as we get further into the season. So it'll essentially reach a plateau as we move forward, but like I said, we haven't run into that yet. So some of the excavations we've actually over-excavated to kind of find groundwater and see what it is and monitor it, and it's all continued to get lower and lower as we've gone through the construction season. So I think we're sitting in a good spot right now. It's just a matter of how much dirt they can move. All right, any questions?
It's great to see the work back underway.
Yeah.
I've noticed it, and I noticed the signage to the marinas. Is that all working out okay?
Yeah, we've been coordinating with the marina folks to make sure we're hearing all their concerns. And we've got, like I said, the temporary access that's currently going in there right now. We've got the second one that's going to be constructed. So we'll continue to, like I said, coordinate with those folks and make sure we incorporate any of their comments in our traffic control plans. But, you know, with any construction project, there is going to be some inconveniences. So to the best that we can accommodate them, we'll make sure we can get what they need.
It's pretty clear, though. I mean, the signage has made things pretty clear.
Yeah, and I know
Yeah.
they've installed a few things in conjunction with us. So, like I said, we'll continue to talk with them and work with all our folks out there. So,
Okay,
Thanks.
all right.
very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 10, the WSAFCA updates.
Morning, Chair Ramos, members of the board. I'll go over a few of the highlights from the progress report you guys have in front of you. With the Southport project, real estate services, staff has continued to work with Department of Water Resources, both real estate branch, flood protection office, to try and get our packages through, approved, and then reimbursement in hand. We had a really good period of time where a lot of things were getting churned through. Things have kind of slowed down. The gears are moving a little bit slower now, but staff is working with them daily to try and get the packages routed and approved, so we can get some more reimbursement in place. Also, with the construction project, if the board, any members of the board are interested in maybe getting a tour of the project site during the day with the construction activities taking place, it is quite the sight to see. I highly recommend just give one of us a call and we'll arrange for a 1 hour tour or so and let you see what it looks like in action. It's pretty impressive. For environmental or cultural resources, we're still waiting for a response from SHPO, or at least for CORE to communicate the response from SHPO on our historic properties treatment plan. So the one item, or the one area, I should say, of the project that still is fenced off and the contractor's not allowed to go in is at 3000 South River Road. So as soon as we get that concurrence from SHPO, which we do expect, then we can lift the boundaries and provide direction to the contractor to get in there and do the remaining of the demo and keep the project moving. On the federal project, really right now everything is in place to kick off for design as soon as PED funding is received. We continue to meet with the Corps pretty regularly, on average about twice a month now. Right now, the current projections are somewhere in the May 23 to May 26 timeframe to receive, or for CORE to publish the work plan. as well as the supplemental appropriations. So the word on the street, or the the rumors that are in the region about the supplemental appropriation, is that this region may see a significant amount of funding for a variety of activities. And of course, we're hoping that some of those activities include our project. So as soon as we hear, we won't wait until the next board meeting. We'll try and communicate that immediately,
Great.
whatever the news is. On the Deepwater Ship Channel Drainage Project, the notice to proceed has been issued. Their contractors continuing with project submittals and also looking at material procurement, the piping. I think this week they're going to do some dewatering out there, but the major construction activities are still expected to begin in June. On the Regional Flood Management Plan, there was a Regional Collaborative Leaders meeting that was held on May 2nd. Chair Ramos attended. Topics from that meeting included the action plan that the regional planning team put together for 2018. So there's an update provided to the leaders there, as well as a discussion of the next Yolo Bypass Cache Slough Complex Partnership meeting, which is a high-level meeting for Resource Agency, Corps, DWR, Central Valley Flood Protection Board. That meeting is still to be determined. We'll try and get that on your future meetings calendar at the end of your report for next month. But we are also looking at planning another leadership meeting between now and when the partnership meeting takes place. So we'll make sure to communicate that and let you know when that is. A couple of items that were not on the progress report, one dealing with admin support. As the board may recall, Chelsea Grow retired some months ago. Following her retirement, flood staff met with community development staff to discuss the appropriate staffing level needs to support the program. And right now we're looking at and recommending that the position be downgraded from an admin assistant to a part-time admin assistant to full-time secretary, so we can provide the appropriate and consistent level of service, and also provide no cost to the agency. We're also looking at potentially sharing that position with community development, and if that happens, then there may be some additional cost savings, minor, but some. That position, or that reclassification of the position, was presented to the council as part of the budget workshop on May 9th. There were no comments received, so it is planned that that will go to the council for action in June with the midterm budget update. Once the city council has acted, then we'll bring an item to the board along with the budget update for this board to consider the same. And then the Yolo Habitat Conservancy adopted Yolo County's HCP NCCP on May 7th, and the various member cities are looking at adopting or approving their membership, including the city. That's scheduled to take place on May 23rd. One of the benefits of being a member agency under that program is that it provides for coverage for listed species. And since the board's territory or jurisdiction coincides with the city's jurisdiction, all of our future projects and our current project will be in the coverage area. So it should help to streamline, or at least help advance biological opinions and other permitting that we're going to need on future projects. So that's a good thing. And then one last administrative item. The Larson, Wurzel and Associates contract for assistance with program management and the construction agreement and financial support. Their contract is due to expire in the end of June of this year. There's still capacity left on the contract. The general manager does have the ability to extend the contract for term only. And since we're in this sort of transition period between current activities and the future activities are not quite known, staff is recommending that the general manager extend that contract maybe for a year, and then before that contract expires, and once we have a little more idea of where this program is headed in the near future, then we'll recommend going out for an RFP for longer-term support. So unless the board has any objection, then staff will work to see that done.
So you're talking about the possible participation of the feds, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, and there's adequate funds still available to continue on for how long? 6 months? or-
Yeah, at least 6 months, probably like 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
But we should know in the next 1 to 2 months anyways what the funding looks like, and then we'll also, we'll work with the Corps through a design funding agreement as well to plan out the next 2 to however many years activities. And at that point, we'll have a better idea of how to scope the support that we'll need
Okay.
for the next
That
term.
makes sense to me. Do you need direction from us, or?
No, I think that's an administrative action. It's already a term of the contract. I just want to let the board know
Okay.
what we were planning.
That sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. That concludes my updates, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay. Any questions? Very thorough. Thank you very much. Any director's comments? I don't have any today either, so thank you all for attending. This meeting's adjourned.